New Zealand rugby boss Steve Tew says he's disappointed Chiefs rugby players hired a stripper to perform at an end-of-season function, but says all the activity that occurred was consensual. The findings of an investigation into claims Chiefs players abused the stripper at the Matamata Hotel Bar were made public this afternoon by RNZ Rugby and the Chiefs. Their investigation found the stripper's claims of sexual abuse, including being touched without permission, were unsubstantiated by 9, quote, independent witnesses, end quote, spoken to by New Zealand Rugby's legal counsel. The whole Chiefs team's been given a warning for hiring the performer, and New Zealand Rugby's chief executive says it was inappropriate. But Steve Tew says no witnesses backed the allegations that were made. So what does that mean? Does that mean the alleged events didn't happen, or that they did happen, but they were consented to?
Well, we're not disputing anything as such, John. What we've done is I had a very senior member of the legal fraternity who happens to be our general counsel, who's got a lot of employment law background. He's gone and spoken to 9 independent witnesses and a reasonable cross-section of the players, both those who were in party mode and those who were sober and playing minder, because that's the way they conduct themselves these days. And he simply cannot get any evidence to substantiate the claims that were made. And
what claims? So if you can't substantiate them, what claims are you rejecting? Was Scarlett, for example, licked and touched? Well,
I'm frankly not particularly enthusiastic about going through the individual allegations, because I'm not sure that anyone benefits from that. But none of the allegations that were made on television by Scarlett are substantiated by any of the independent witnesses or the players that we have spoken to. So what we've chosen to do is to take a collective action against the players, those that were there and those that weren't. Now all have a formal caution on their record, and that's largely about the decision to have a function with this sort of entertainment in it, because it was a poor decision and we need to learn some lessons from it.
Except I want to know what happened. Was she licked and touched? And if so, are you disputing her version of events because you're saying it was consensual, or are you saying that didn't happen at all?
No, what I'm saying, John, is that we cannot get anyone to substantiate the claim that she made that actions of a non-consensual type were taken by the players. I'm not going to get into the intimate details of her routine. I think you'd better talk to her about that. But in the end, we cannot substantiate any of the claims that she made against our players on an individual basis, or as a group for that matter. But we are deeply disappointed the decision was made to have this sort of entertainment at a function that clearly can be seen as a Chiefs function, and it can't happen again for any of these players to be involved in it. That's what the caution means.
Can we talk about the 9 independent witnesses? Who were they? Not in terms of names, but where were they from? How were they independent?
Well, they're independent because they weren't part of the Chiefs group. They were people that happened to be on the premises.
Because they worked there, for example?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure, John.
Because if they work there, this is a pub that the Chiefs had visited before.
No, definitely not all of them worked there. I'm not sure.
So some of them worked there, because would that mean they were independent? If they were being paid, for example, that day to look after the Chiefs, to serve drinks to the Chiefs, that wouldn't be independent, would it?
Well, let me just give you some context. We have attempted to find out exactly what happened because we wanted to know. So our legal counsel has gone to the witnesses that were there, and I don't know whether any of them were staff or not, but certainly a decent number of them were not. They were members of the public, so they are independent.
And did they witness the entire performance, for want of a better description, the witnesses?
Apparently some were invited in and took the invitation up and watched the entire performance.
Okay. All of this is so at odds with what Scarlett is saying about what happened that it is bewildering to me how people who are in the same place at the same time see things so differently.
Yep, it was bewildering to me too, John. It was bewildering to me that those claims were made on live television without anyone checking that anybody else might have had the same view of them as well. But that's what occurred. All we can deal with are the facts in front of us, and that is having interviewed, as I say, a number of players who were sober and minders, a number of players who had admittedly been drinking, and also a reasonable cross-section of, or not cross-section, but a reasonable number of independent witnesses, definitely some of whom did not work in the establishment, and there is nothing to sustain the allegations that were made that means we can take any action against our players.
Nothing to sustain. Nothing to sustain. Sorry, are you saying this stuff didn't happen? Let's begin at what we know happened. Did the performance happen?
John, as far as we know, the team made a decision, or the group of the team that was there, we only had 24 of the 40-odd players in the squad actually on this trip. They made a decision to hire an entertainer.
A woman to come and strip, and she did strip, right? That's not in dispute.
No, she performed her routine, which I have to say is more than a striptease. And that's as far as I'll go, because I don't think it's helpful for us to be...
So it's more than a striptease. So that would suggest that the Scarlett's claims that people were touching her did in fact happen. So when you say it can't be substantiated or corroborated, actually this is a discussion around consent, isn't it? You're saying, the NZRU is saying, she consented to that. She's saying, no, I didn't.
The independent witnesses and the players we interviewed all agree that whatever took place was consensual, that the other allegations that were made around other behaviour, boisterous behaviour, did not occur. And from that point of view, we can't go any further.
Was she on a hiding to nothing here? Was this investigation ever going to find anything other than this?
Well, if you question the integrity of the effort we've put into this, then I will challenge you, because I find that unfortunate. I've put into this piece of work an enormous amount of energy and personal effort from our General Counsel, who is a very senior legal practitioner. He has interviewed people in confidence who have shared with him exactly what they believe to take place, and that's what's brought us to the conclusions that we have made. I come back to it. I don't think there's a winner or loser in this. Everybody in this mess is an unfortunate participant. But in the end, this performance was consensual. It is apparently legal, because you can ring an agency and get someone to come along and do these things. And that's what happened.
In the statement, in the NZRU statement, it says, and I quote, the players also wish to apologise to the women. What women?
The woman involved, because they see now that she has got herself in a very awkward situation, and they feel for her and regret the fact that they hired her in the first place.
So they regret the fact that they hired her in the first place, but nothing about their behaviour when she was there?
No, as I say, the players completely reject the allegations that were made.
And you accept that, and your NZRU counsel who conducted this investigation accepts that?
I accept the findings that our General Counsel has made, having cross-referenced what the players have told us with 9 witnesses who were not part of the team, some of whom were members of the general public.
Steve Tew, I spoke to him, what time? About roughly 4 o'clock this afternoon.